everybody, and welcome back to a packed video game full Nextlander podcast. We are on the other side, for the most part, of the summer of game announcements for 2023. Brad Shoemaker.
That's right, fresh back from E3. What an E3 it was.
Wow.
My
How was your playing
27th,
trip?
my 27th straight E3.
How about that hotel? Unbelievable. The hot dogs, I love them. Alex Navarro.
I thought you were doing a bit where because I'm packing up my apartment, it's a packed show. But no, I haven't packed up the show parts yet.
I see where
and
you're
how were you packing your apartment up while you were in Los Angeles covering E3?
I hired a guy.
Nice. I could tell you can't see it, but behind you is a really disturbing two shelves
audience.
Of just
They're watching me.
Heads, maskless heads behind you.
Yes, the masks have been
amazing.
packed up.
We are of course we are abreast and a crest of the games. We had a bunch of stuff, some of which we covered. I'd say majority of which we covered. Some we did not. So we're going to talk this week. We're going to get to it and run down the Sony Showcase, the Summer Games Fest opening night stuff, the Xbox Showcase. We had Ubisoft Forward. There was also
the showcases.
There was also the PC Games Showcase, and then the Capcom Shrug. I don't know, the Capcom thing.
The Capcom Proof of Life.
Yeah.
The fact that, honestly, I didn't even watch the Capcom thing. The fact that they brought the literal exact same trailer from the Xbox Showcase for, what is that game, Path of the Goddess?
Yes.
Kunitsugami, Path of the Goddess, literally the same trailer. In your 36-minute presentation, here's the thing you saw yesterday.
I mean, if it's not the focus of your presentation, asking your people to cut two trailers together is maybe a bit much.
No, yeah. Well, maybe a little more gameplay would have been nice or something, but the point is Capcom did not have a lot new at their thing.
So, we're going to get to that in just a second. Before we do, because that's going to probably take up a majority of the show, we have a couple of other news items that we'll sprinkle in throughout our talking about those things. You guys have anything you want to talk about game-wise that you've been playing? I have mostly just been digging back into Diablo here and there. It's been kind of a busy couple of weeks here, or a week and a half, let's say. So
extremely. How far in are you?
How to measure that?
What's your level?
It's weird with the crisscrossing acts.
Yeah,
like multiple story quests from different acts all available at the same time. Like, how do you?
I'm level 40.
Like, has anybody tried this? Can you go finish Act 2 or Act 3 before you finish Act 1?
So I think you can, or at least some of the acts you can, because I had a friend who straight up said they missed an act they didn't even realize was there.
Weird.
That's just weird. That is weird.
I mean, yeah. Yes. Some of the objectives in the different acts do seem a little bit like side stuff. Anyway.
Yeah.
I'm about level 40, 39 or 40-ish. I still have an Act 1 thing on my to-do list. I think I am finishing that one up now. But then I fell asleep last night while I was playing. So I did not finish that. I don't know what happens when you bail out mid-dungeon. Do you know if you start outside, does it just pick you up in the dungeon?
Seems to vary. I quit a story quest the other day, and then it started me in town when I got back in and had to run all the way back.
All right. Yeah, I'm doing some Horadrim business in Act 1. How about you guys?
I dug back into Street Fighter 6 for a little bit, just have been playing around with that here and there, mostly playing the campaign still, but I've also been practicing a little bit with some of the new characters. I think I like JP.
Okay.
I see good things about JP.
He seems like a character, annoying. Once you get a handle on him, he can absolutely wreck your shit. I'm not going to say I have a handle on him yet, but I've been doing okay with him.
Anybody with teleporting projectiles in a fighting game seems extremely annoying, but
that's how I like to play fighting games, is to be as annoying as possible. And I did dig back slightly into Vampire Survivors again, because they just released another patch with another new bonus stage, so I'm just playing that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Brad, you getting up to any business?
Yeah, I'm still making my way through Diablo. Considered playing the Final Fantasy 16 demo because I'm curious about that game, but I also don't love the idea of starting it and then having to put it down until we don't know when or if we're getting review code.
Especially with a game like that.
Or if even if we play it at launch or whatever. I think it's the first 2 hours of the game. I'm not
in
mistaken.
the demo?
Yeah.
Yeah, and your
something
save
like
carries
that.
over.
Okay.
So basically playing the first bit of the game and then having to put it down until we get the final.
I mean, that's next week. Yeah. I mean,
God, is it really?
yeah.
It's like 8
in
days away.
And in my mind, that's still a month away.
No, it's super soon. I think you're good.
Yeah, I guess maybe you're right. I don't know. Anyway,
Yes.
stared at that, and I am still also chipping away at Breath of the Wild in the background as other things
Nice.
go on. And I did something over the weekend in it that was extremely exciting to me and made me think I might be even more excited for Tears of the Kingdom.
What did you
Which
do?
was I went to the, I'm sure pronunciations vary, the Tiflo, the Typhlo ruins.
Mhm.
However you're saying it's correct. I love it.
It's the northernmost thing in the entire map of Breath of the Wild. It's this little like forest glade up north of the Lost Woods.
Okay.
You might remember it if you go there. Like, I mean, it's one of the things that game is so great about is like just wandering across invisible thresholds where it triggers some crazy thing to happen. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like Eventide Island. Do you remember that? Is, I feel like, the best example in that game. The place where you're just like, oh, here's like an island off the coast. I wonder what's there. I'm going to go sail over there and find out. And then you get wrapped up in this whole thing where they take all your items and powers away.
Okay.
And you have to like survival your way through it. Do you remember that?
Vaguely remember that. Yeah.
Like, there's a lot of stuff in that game where it's just like, oh, I just wandered into some shit I did not even know was there, and now, oh man, I've got to get out of this. So the thing that happens up in that ruins is everything goes pitch black.
Mhm.
It's this big forest with zero light, and I mean zero.
Okay.
Does that ring any bells? They literally give you, there's like one lit, like sort of lantern torch thing, and they give you a torch, a handheld torch, and that's it at the beginning. Like, you get like demonic voice comes in when you wander in. It's just like you must, ignite the darkness to blah blah blah. It's like, all right, here's your challenge. You're now trapped in this woods and you cannot see jack shit.
Okay. Like
Anyway, it's fine.
I'm
Is this
trying to
ringing
think
any
of what it
bells?
is. I'm trying to think of what it is without spoiling anything. But you think it's not
just
main story quest related?
It's just a shrine quest. At the end of the day,
Okay.
all you're doing is fighting a Hinox at the end and getting a shrine.
Okay. All
Like,
right.
But
Yeah.
it's fucking awesome. Like, it was
Okay.
such a cool experience because literally it's, like I said, it's one lit stationary light source and a torch.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's it. And you have to light that torch and wander around in this forest full of like enemies and non-enemy animals. I had like just a straight up deer came running at me out of the darkness at one point and I fucking screamed.
Did you kill it?
No, I didn't kill it, but it was like the atmosphere in that place, like literally being unable to see anything is like so unusual. And like, there occasionally there'd be like one of the glowing mushrooms off in the distance, or like the what is it, luminous stone, I think is one of the ore types that glows.
Yeah.
So like there's like markers spread around here and there that are like little sort of navigational waypoints, but just barely.
Oh, the buddy.
Otherwise it's all on you to take that torch and like find things to light. And it was just a cool as hell 30 minutes of, feeling very tense, not being able to see anything I was doing. Anyway, it made me think about the depths in the new one.
Mm-hmm.
And like, is that the experience down there? Like, can you literally not see anything when you go down there, or can you kind of always see your surroundings?
I got some glowy pants now. You can't see a lot down there. You have to keep throwing light sources and or build a car with a headlight on it, which is I don't walk around the depths anymore, Brad. I drive around the depths.
Fair.
I always put a headlight on. Actually, I throw one of the sticky light sources on the car, and I just mostly use that and drive around. The depths are huge. I mean, it's as big as the overworld.
Right.
And
Anyway,
it's all dark and scary, and things definitely jump out.
Yes. Yeah. So having this experience in this game made me extra more excited to move on to that game eventually.
Hell yeah, 2025.
Uh-huh.
Well, you'll be playing it on the new Nintendo's newest you'll get the best experience on whatever Nintendo's next bit.
Well, I mean, I'm booking through this game. Like, I already maxed the stamina wheel.
Nice. Oh, good.
Decent 10 hearts or something like that.
Okay.
Trucking
Master
along.
Sword yet?
No.
Okay.
Don't tell me. Don't tell me. I don't know how many hearts I need for that.
I don't remember. I couldn't remember.
I'm sure it's more than I have, though.
Yeah, about five hearts.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else you guys want to talk about before we jump into not reality, the future, the open world, the open gate that is ahead of us? You see that game? You can launch that.
Well, you will be able to launch that, hopefully by 2024.
You could release that. Let's do it. Let's jump in.
Let's do it.
Let's get in there. We, like I said, we jumped into, I think 4 out of, I don't know, let's say 7-ish, showcases, press conferences, doodads. We saw a lot of stuff, so we're just going to kind of bebop around some of our favorite things we saw or didn't see, that we wish we saw. And I want to kick it off with, I'll kick it off. How about that? Let's start with the thing I thought showed really well, or one of the things I thought it showed really well, was that new Prince of Persia game. We saw that fairly recently. That was at the Ubisoft press conference. We saw that also at, here come the Prince of Persia cops.
Yep. This won't be happening too much longer, hopefully.
No. Well, hopefully. Then something's really wrong.
Yeah.
We saw a little bit of this at Summer Game Fest. We saw some of this, or a lot more of this, at Ubisoft. Prince of Persia, The Lost Crown.
Not that Sands of Time remake.
No. Metroidvania action game?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no Sands of Time stuff. But this has some time elements in it. Some kind of time rewinding mechanics, if you will. It looks neat.
Did they run out? Do we know?
That stuff never runs out, man. That time rewinding potion. It looks neat. The more they showed of it at Ubisoft, the more I was getting into it. Very actiony from what they showed. I like the art style. I like what they're going for.
Yeah, starting to see some of the like platforming challenges where you have to kind of air dash through a bunch of spikes without touching the ground, and like the combat seems pretty elaborate with launchers and combos and stuff. Like I was getting a real Ori vibe from a lot of what they're doing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Also, I mean, I guess pedigree only counts for so much, but hearing that this is the team that did Rayman Origins and Legends, like those excellent Rayman 2D platformers, makes this extra exciting.
2 of my favorite platformers of like the last 10 to 12 years.
I'm excited for that one. And again, I think it started showing better and better the more they showed of it. And that wasn't my response to everything. Sometimes the more they showed of it, the less I was into it. But that is slated. Again, these dates are all going to be ridiculous. But that is for next year, early next year,
January, I think, right?
That's what they're saying. But
yeah,
we'll see. We'll see.
One never knows.
Brad, anything on here you want to pluck out and talk about?
There's a
ton.
Yeah, we'll just go around. We'll go around the round.
I'm not really sure where to start here. I mean,
pick the one that's most top of mind for you.
I'll pick what I'm looking at right now, which is Fable.
Yeah,
which is what Xbox started with. I really wanted to see this actual game.
Richard Ayoade's Fable.
Fucking Aaron Greenberg before this thing was out there, all like, everything's in engine that you're going to see at this. No CG trailers, and like, I guess technically this was in engine, but it sure was not the actual game.
They made an in-engine Moss.
Yeah.
So it's looked. I mean, it was fun. They did a good job with the lighthearted nature of it. I mean, I'm trying to think what's a Fable game, right?
Yeah, like that's the one thing I'm kind of reserving judgment on is we need to see. That's why I wanted to see the end game stuff, is to really get a sense of what you're doing and what the flavor is.
Like we know what the tone is at least, but that's kind of it.
I mean, the main thing for me is like this is a different studio making a Fable game for the first time. Like that's kind of the real thing for me. And like Lionhead had such a specific, peculiar sense of humor in everything they did, that I feel like Playground's got something to prove to, since they are taking the tack of, okay, this is going to be goofball, super British fantasy.
Yeah.
Again, since you're doing the thing Lionhead did, I need to see how well you're going to do that. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Does that make sense? Like it's not enough to just say, hey, we're going to do funny medieval fantasy. Like you really got to prove what your chops are there.
Well, and especially because it's Playground. Like, it's a studio that makes driving games up to this point.
Yes.
Good ones.
I'm not in any way doubting that they can pull it off. I just want to see it, right?
But I'm just saying they're an unknown quantity in this space.
Yeah. And again, especially when it's something that a particular studio, like, really defined with something that was very core to that studio's identity. Like, seeing another studio then go on to adopt that and take a stab at it, like... Again, I have no like skepticism about whether they can pull it off or not. I just want to see what they're going to do to do that, to recreate that vibe.
Yeah, and like what they're...
Because, like, I mean, what is Fable, like, farting statues? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
chicken chasing.
Like my dog.
Yeah,
type
right.
shit. You know what I mean? Like, I need to see more of what's in the actual game.
It's... I mean, the tone piece had kind of a you know, like a mixed up fairy tales world, right? Like a okay, I don't mean this, and it might come off as negative, but a kind of Shrek-like quality to it, right? You know, like, oh, we're self-aware of the fairy tales in this world, and the you know,
that
the tropes.
Maybe that's the thing that's got this like kind of documentary style interview here. It maybe feels. God, I didn't even think about the Shrek comparison.
I like. This
I'm always thinking about Shrek.
I don't hate Shrek either. Kind of more hate a little of what Shrek became as an institution, let's say. But you know, it had that vibe to me.
Sure. You know, maybe I'm actually arguing with my own point here, which is that maybe they are actually doing something slightly different with this than Lionhead would have done. Like maybe maybe this will have a bit more of a modern style of humor to it.
My favorite thing on Fable, I think it was Fable 2, is where you start building the castle and stuff. Do you remember that? Like you kind of get your base.
Oh, was that in 2?
Is that 2 or 3?
I never played much of 2 at all, but 3 very much was the you're the king now. You're building up the kingdom.
Yeah.
Oh, this is going to go completely off the rails.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I like that stuff. I liked. I hope there's some of that in here. I like the building of the town and stuff like that, or the castle and all those things. Alex, anything you want to jump into here?
Yes, I would very much like to talk about that there Spider-Man 2.
Oh yeah, we saw all the Spider-Man.
They sure did show off. I mean, okay, it was just, you know, it was a single action sequence that they showed off, but it was a single action sequence where literally everything was fucking happening in that Sony one. So, you know, it's Peter Parker in the symbiote suit. It's Miles Morales, you know, in there, and they're kind of jumping back and forth. And there's just a million explosions and about 10 dozen villains and other things kind of going on in this. And I'm not saying any of that is bad, because, I mean, look, those games are pretty exciting and fun to play. But I think for a showing of that game, it was maybe a little busy in terms of the sheer number of things they tried to jam into about a 5 to 10 minute thing.
Yeah, it felt long.
Yeah.
Which I don't think is what you want, you know?
No.
But you got Miles, which he seems cool. You got kind of edgier, angrier Peter Parker.
He's got that symbiote suit on, so
yeah, it's pretty obvious.
Hang on. Can you have the symbiote suit and Venom in the same world? I don't know my Venom mechanics, or my alien symbiont stuff well enough, but like, are they both the same being? I mean, I know Venom is a dude with the alien on top or whatever. Like, how those things relate together, I'm not super clear.
I can tell you what the early lore is. I can't tell you what they did with it after the fact, because I'm guarantee you they have probably found about 17 different ways to make a whole bunch of other people Venom at the same time.
Yeah.
But my recollection is that the original symbiote suit, the one that Peter Parker first wore, is the one that became Eddie Brock Venom. There are other symbiotes, like Carnage is a symbiote, and like that's a different entity that is possessing that character. But there have been other Venoms that are not Eddie Brock Venom. I don't know if they are saying that is definitively the same suit every single time. Again, then you start getting into like multiverse applications, and it's all kind of fucked. But I'm pretty sure, at least in the original debut of Venom, the symbiote suit that Parker is wearing is the same one that becomes Eddie Brock Venom.
Interesting, because they did say Venom is, or in fact, they've shown that Venom is in this game, right? But then also,
they also said it's not Eddie Brock,
right?
So
some people were saying there was like a tease for Osborn being Venom, but I don't remember that.
I think that is something that maybe happened in the comics at some point, that Harry Osborn became Venom as well.
Oh, okay, yeah, I don't know, but maybe Peter loses the symbiote suit at some point.
Well, no, he has to, because that thing is like, it destroys your psyche on top of everything else. And the whole arc with Peter Parker in that suit is he has to get it off at some point because he becomes fucking intolerable.
So help Peter Parker get off, and
Indeed.
Venom and the Hunter,
Kraven the Hunter. You can probably presume there will be some other villains floating around in there, but yes.
It would be pretty funny if Kraven just dies. Like this build up for Kraven.
No.
And he's like, what am I up against? An alien?
They're putting a movie out for that guy soon. They're definitely not going to get rid of him early.
Oh, okay, because I was actually, before I remember the movie was a thing, I was going to say that guy seems like exactly the villain you introduced to kill off. Like they killed villains off in the first game, right? Like some villains die, some don't.
I mean, they could kill him by the end of that game, but I'm saying he's going to stick around for as long as possible in that game.
Sure. In my head canon, it would just be funny to see him go up against somebody. I don't really know Kraven. I don't know how wonderfully talented Kraven might be.
He's very good at killing things.
Kind of Batman, I don't have superpowers, but I kind of have superpowers kind of way.
He's just really good at tracking more than anything else.
Look at all those releases.
He's that guy who can put his ear to the ground and say, there are horses coming.
Spider-Man 2, that's coming out this October, so...
I am still looking forward to that game, for what it's worth. While that demo I found a little exhausting, I mean, Miles Morales was definitely good enough that I'm like, I'll play whatever they're gonna do here.
Oh, yeah. I'm gonna bop back around to Microsoft here and say, not a lot shown, well, decent amount shown, but surprise one, Flight Simulator 2024 was not... A great surprise, I'll say that. Well, kind of. If I had a bingo card, it would not have been on it. More details need to be known about what this is and how this is going to roll out. It has to incorporate all your purchases from the most recent Microsoft Flight Simulator, which was, 2020?
I've seen some scuttlebutt around, and I don't know if this is confirmed at all or not, but I've seen some stuff around that this might be like a big expansion that sort of turns it into a new game instead of just a new game.
Okay, yeah, I would think that would be the smarter move.
Yeah.
What do you mean in terms of how it's being released?
It's like a big update. Like, basically, you still have to pay for it. Again, this is just stuff I've seen people talking about. I don't know if this is accurate or not. I'm not sure they've said either way.
I'm pretty sure they've confirmed it is a completely standalone game, if that's what you mean.
Okay.
Because that is definitely the case.
Okay.
Because, if it doesn't hook in somehow to the original, to the Microsoft Flight Simulator, there is going to be zero adoption for this product.
They have a FAQ up here.
Okay. What does it say?
2024 is a standalone simulator and the next generation sequel to the flight simulator that launched in 2020.
Okay. Do they have anything in there about what you do with your existing content?
Current aircraft and airports, as well as virtually all marketplace add-ons, will be supported in 2024.
There you go.
Okay.
That's what you need to hear.
It's just a little weird. I don't know. Like, maybe their model...
Well, how's that game been
outdated?
Now?
I think it was 2020, right?
Right.
Was that when the came
out?
out?
So, it's coming out next. It's coming out next year?
I think 2020 on PC, right? It came out later on console.
Oh, okay. I mean, I assume 2024 would come out next year.
So I think 4 years to make another one of those, and especially like really update that visual model, which it seems like they super have. I don't think that doesn't seem out of the question to me.
Just seems fast. I guess maybe it seems fast because it took so long to get back to Flight Sim.
That's what it is that there was so long without a proper flight simulator.
Yeah.
But that game took off is the thing. Like, and
nice,
that game really did find an audience pretty quickly.
I don't know what was the release cadence back in the day.
I don't think they were yearly.
No, they definitely weren't.
But they were pretty regular.
How many have there been? God. Flight Simulator 1.0 was 1982. Is that real? Fuck.
But I guess the difference I would say, between those and today's version is this one felt more like a platform for content, and less like a box you get at the Babbage's, right?
Yeah.
This felt more like we'll be supporting this for a decade, right? And you'll just add in more and more stuff.
I mean, I will say with the extreme authority of somebody who doesn't play 2020 at all, it sure looked like they are rolling out enough new content to justify it being a full sequel.
Yeah, there's like a whole single player campaign in this now.
Like all those objectives they showed seems kind of crazy.
Yeah, it seems neat. And since they're going to support all your purchases in it and have them be fully functional, like it's cool. Like again, if it's $60 for all of the new stuff baked in, that's probably. Okay, here's my concern.
Okay.
I want what's in 2020 in 24. So not even just the planes, the flight stuff, all of the kind of. I just want 24 to be additional to 2020, if that makes sense. Like all the tutorials and everything that were in there were pretty good. I hope they at least keep them and redo them and don't lose some of that stuff.
Yeah.
It's dense. It's a dense game that.
Man, this game looks so good.
It's cool. It's
why
cool
why am I not playing this on my brand new PC? This game looks so good.
Because it's 5,000 terabytes of data.
Yeah, and also, well, it's really the learning curve. But I'm sure plenty of people would say that it on-ramps you very smoothly if you want.
It's pretty good with the assists too. I think the thing I would say if is it Asobo, if they can figure out how to figure out the launcher for this game and the content downloading of this game in a more elegant way than they did for 2020, that would be a nice upgrade.
Yeah.
I'd pay upwards of $20 to $30 for just that. Because when you launch that game and have a download, you cannot close the game.
Mm-hmm.
You have to just sit at your downloading screen, and some of those packs are damn huge. Brad, let's move on from Flight Simulator 2024, TBD 2024. What else? There's plenty.
Yes, there is a lot here,
Mm-hmm.
for certain. Trying to see what I can find here. Wow. Does the YouTube version of the Ubisoft Forward not have that Star Wars demo?
Oh, did they break it out?
I was going to talk about Star Wars Outlaws, but maybe let's talk about something else until I can find that.
Okay.
Sure.
I've got something smaller I can mention here.
Go for it.
The new Bennett Foddy game was announced during the PC showcase.
Okay.
It is called Baby Steps.
Uh-huh.
And it is in tandem with Maxi Bach, who made Ape Out?
Oh yeah, I like that game.
So it is a straight up QWOP style Death Stranding walking simulator.
Oh, wow.
Where you play a man baby that is living in his parents' basement who is transported to a magical world, and you have to manually control every step.
Oh my god, it's like QWOP, but somebody threw money at it.
Yeah.
Like it looks like an actual game with production values, but it's still QWOP.
It looks ridiculous in the best way.
Yeah, it straight up says key features, fully simulated physics-based walking.
Yep.
That's definitely that.
It's literally like the trailer is just a long series of pratfalls and falling over, and then an extended weird dialogue bit that just sounds like some very goofy, humor in a way that is not bad.
I need to play this. I'm sad this is not coming out until next year.
Yeah. I saw that, that was the first thing I saw out of any of these presentations where I was like, holy shit, one, surprise, two, I'm all about this.
An unemployed fail son with nothing going for him.
Yep.
This says...
in a onesie.
Where was this announced?
I think it was either at the PC Game Showcase or at the Devolver thing.
No, Devolver had its own thing. So
okay.
Yeah, because I had looked through the PC Game Showcase. I don't remember seeing this.
Okay, it must have been the Devolver thing then.
Yeah, I didn't watch the Devolver stuff.
Yeah.
Wow. Shit.
Okay.
I'm thrilled about this one.
I want to play this not only because it looks ridiculous, but I bet it's fucking hard and
oh yeah,
something that really has to be mastered, right?
But it also seems like a game where when you are failing, something really stupid and funny happens.
Yeah, this kind of looks amazing. I might have to go watch that presentation. I wonder if they talked about the controls at all.
I think it was just the trailer. But hey, what a first impression.
I'm sitting here literally watching the foot planting and the arm movements, wondering what control you've got and how this works. This looks fascinating.
Yeah.
Baby Steps.
Out next year, supposedly.
Okay. PC and PlayStation 2024. Nice. All right, Brad, we're back to you.
What do you got?
I didn't have time to find Outlaws. I was too busy gawking at that. Obsidian showed some Avowed gameplay finally.
Okay, yes.
It looks like, it looked pretty small in scale, I was going to say, when they showed it, and then sure enough, there was an interview with like PC Gamer or somebody where they straight up said that's what they're doing. Like a smaller scale game. Like, I almost said on the stream when they showed it, I was like, hey, I wonder if this is like the Outer Worlds, but fantasy in terms of like the scope, because Outer Worlds was like a reason. It looked like a Fallout style game, but it was relatively like tight and focused, because that's not a gigantic studio with infinite resources, and that's kind of what they're saying this is going to be as well. So, I don't know. I thought it looked decent.
What they showed didn't do too much for me. I think it might be one of those things that, for me, maybe that's more fun to play than to watch. For that type of game. I
think it's definitely going to come down to the quality of the writing, and also the RPG stuff. Like how elaborate are their class stuff and reputation and interactions with characters and all that stuff. I mean, like a Skyrim-ish game, but with a more focused scope and story.
Yeah.
Could be pretty cool.
And what looks like some interesting systems for combat. So
yeah, but it definitely is very much the like sword in right hand, magic spell on left hand style of combat. So hopefully they maybe do that better than Bethesda has done.
I did not realize this was in the Pillars of Eternity verse.
I think they said that ages ago, and I had completely forgotten about it.
It's kind of neat.
But yeah, that's
the Eterniverse.
Because apparently, I don't think Pillars 2 did amazingly well, so it's cool for them to keep that fiction going in a different venue.
That is 2024.
Yes.
Avowed. That was where did they show that? Was that
it was the Xbox.
Okay, Xbox. Yes, that would make sense. All right. Wrapping back around. Alan Wake 2.
Mm-hmm.
We saw Alan Wake 2.
Not a lot of it.
Kind of seems more like we saw it at the Sony thing, and then we saw it again a little more at the Summer Game Feast.
Good old Sam Lake out there on stage. He was there doing a bunch of interviews. Always happy to see that guy around.
Yeah, I think that's kind of just feels a little. Known quantity sounds like a pejorative, but it seems like that game. I'm ready for it.
I think the thing I was kind of hoping from that presentation that I didn't end up getting was just a little bit more of like what's going on with the gameplay. Like, I understand that they don't want to like show too much because I mean it is a mystery game kind of at its core, and they don't want to like give away too much at once. But like the little bit of gameplay they showed was just not. It was just like they're shooting and here's a couple of monsters, and it was not a lot.
You should go look up some previews. They were showing it to people in LA, and there's some footage out there.
I know there was hands-on at the event. Yeah.
So there's apparently some whole detective aspect to that game.
Yeah.
Like you can go back to some kind of home base with some full-on corkboard, like strings between photos, piecing the mystery together type stuff.
Okay.
That home base might exist in your mind.
Mind palace.
Somebody quite literally referred to it as like a mind palace headquarters.
Sure.
Where you do the detective stuff, so that might actually be like mental.
Okay.
But still a cool idea.
Yeah.
Also, seems like the flashlight stuff is back.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't get the sense of that much from the first reveal at the Summer Game Fest stuff, but seems like there's full on shine a flashlight on somebody before you can shoot them type stuff in there.
Roast them.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah, don't get me wrong here. Like, I'm very excited about anything Remedy puts out at this point, including anything related to Alan Wake. I just, I was, as someone who was sitting here watching from afar, I just wanted to see a little bit more. That's all.
Brad.
Yes.
Got another one.
All right. Is this Star Wars thing done downloading? They did, in fact, break it out into its own video.
Okay.
I thought the pitch for Star Wars Outlaws sounded extremely predictable when they first, it was the Microsoft thing, is where they first said the title, right? And it was like, hey, you're playing a scoundrel. I was like, okay, well, EA did the Jedi game. Now here's Ubisoft doing the smuggler game. But I thought that demo looked really good when they actually showed it at the Ubisoft thing.
Did look fun.
I thought that showed quite well. And I'm excited to play it.
Yeah, like they showed some running around with your little pet, your little furry pet, and some on foot on land action.
Like nothing like revolutionary in here in terms of like, you know, it looks like an open world game.
Yes.
Like you've got your story mission in an enclosed location where you can go stealth or go loud. Then you can get on a motorcycle and roam the open world and then go to a town. I mean, like, you know, and have a dialogue sequence, like, you know.
And get in a ship.
I mean, the ship stuff is kind of the one place where it actually diverged a little bit, you know, because it seems like it's full on No Man's Sky style.
Mm-hmm.
Get in a ship and like fly off world and go other places and like straight up chart your course.
Yeah.
And hyperspace jump to other places.
Good looking effects.
Like,
good looking
Like
hyperspace.
the freedom in the ship was kind of unexpected, but like all I'm saying is like the open world components seem like completely familiar. It's just that the game looks like visually looks really nice. Like seems like it's nailing the tone pretty well. Like I thought that dialogue sequence with that Imperial and the droid, everybody loves the droid.
Mm-hmm.
People are horny for the droid companion.
The droid's wearing like a little leather jacket, right?
I regret to inform you, there is a droid fandom forming.
There always is.
But yeah, I thought like the cutscene stuff played well. I think the main character seems cool.
I'm excited because there's no non-canonical Star Wars now. Everything that comes out. So, got to know how this all fits in.
I mean, for now,
5 and 6.
Yeah.
We'll
see if that changes one day.
All of this will get invalidated someday, and they'll start
That's
over.
Right. Let's take a quick break here. We'll pause it there on Star Wars Outlaws, and we'll come back. We got so many more games to talk about that were revealed, announced, updated, maybe pushed. We'll come back, talk about those right after this. This week's show is brought to you by Factor. Alex Navarro and Brad Shoemaker. I like to eat food.
Wow, controversial.
You know, I like to eat food. Factor is America's #1 ready-to-eat meal kit. It's delivered right to your door. They're convenient, wholesome meals, and they're ready just for you. I like to eat. I don't like the time it takes necessarily to prepare everything. I've had Factor meals, and I'll tell you what, they're quick and they taste good. You can take that to the bank. They warmed up nice and quickly, and they tasted good.
They filled you up.
They did fill me up. They also have calorie-conscious options. You can have delicious dietitian-approved calorie-smart meals with around or fewer than 550 calories per serving. They have delicious flavor-packed options on the menu each week, including keto and calorie-smart, vegan and veggie, protein plus. They're prepared by chefs and approved by dietitians. Each meal has all of the ingredients you need to feel satisfied. How will you know if you're satisfied? Oh, you're gonna know.
Don't ask me. Ask Factor.
You can feel satisfied all day long while meeting your goals. This June, get Factor and enjoy eating well without the hassle. Simply choose your meals and enjoy fresh, flavor-packed meals delivered to your door, ready in just 2 minutes. No prep, no mess. I'm going to say, no fuss, no muss. Head to factormeals.com/Nextlander50 and use code Nextlander50 to get 50% off your first box. That's code Nextlander50 at factormeals.com/Nextlander50 to get 50% off your first box. Thanks, Factor. And we are back. Plenty of more to go here. Alex Navarro.
Uh-huh.
Why don't you pluck one out of the old Naughty 3 hat?
Mortal Kombat 1.
Yeah, the first Mortal Kombat. Yep.
We're back. Everything's new, but also it kind of isn't. The universe has been remade, and it has been remade into something that I'm just going to say looks an awful lot like Mortal Kombat.
Yeah, that continues to kind of be the most confusing part of this to me, is that I thought Liu Kang was now empowered to literally remake everything however he wants. Mm-hmm. And it seems like, yes, he is stuck pretty close to script.
I love Liu Kang. I would not say he is the most creatively minded of all fighters.
I mean, like, Sub-Zero and Scorpion are brothers now. Like, that was the big revelation to me out of that whole thing, was like, okay, now I guess I see what you're doing. Like, this is more like Mortal Kombat Remix, I think.
He's tired of all their fussing and feuding. He wants to put an end to that.
Well, I mean, it seems like the principle here is, like, we're not going to remake everything from scratch. We're just going to take all the pieces we had and move them around and reconnect them in weird ways.
I think there was some interesting Katana and Melina stuff. It is a shuffle the pieces around. I'm sure there'll be some new things here. I think, Brad, you mentioned this in our predictions thing. It looks like you have a mortal Raiden goofing around out there.
Yes.
He's out there being a dude.
Raiden is here, but without powers. Kind of surprised to see Kenshi in here. I kind of thought, well, they need a lot of characters. A modern fighting game needs a lot of characters. I thought they would have stuck to, like, early characters, but
you also get the support characters.
Yes,
they're
the
rolling
cameos.
In some characters from the later 3D games. Yes, Kano, Sonya, and Jax are here as cameos. Apparently, some of the cameos are also going to be playable.
Yes,
as mains. I believe the cameos get their own fatalities. In fact, I know they do because I've seen this footage of Jax growing to skyscraper size and stepping on people about 100 times, which is incredible that's in there.
Somewhere in that trailer, they also showed a Goro cameo, and I'm bet he's one of the ones you don't play as.
Yeah, I would be shocked if Goro is a full playable character, but all these cameo characters are straight up in their MK1 costumes.
Yes. Or I think one of them in the trailer might have been in an MK2 costume, but it is still old Mortal Kombat.
Yeah, Kano, Jax, and Sonya are full-on original design in here.
Yeah.
What else am I seeing in this footage? It looks really good. It does not look like a generational leap over 11, which already looks kind of amazing. Like, 11 is a very good-looking game, don't get me wrong, and this also looks very good, but not, again, generationally so. Like, it looks great.
Yes, the fidelity is definitely there.
I don't know what I was expecting, honestly.
Me either.
I was like, all right, new game, new console, the UE5, what do you got?
Scoopy,
still looks like a very good-looking Mortal Kombat game, but not a massive leap over 11.
It's goofy. It's violent. I would not say that any of the fatalities they showed in those presentations really, like, made me sick to my stomach in the way some of the other ones have. Like, it's more like, yes, it is still ultra violent, but I don't feel like any of it was like, oh, cool, this is just torture.
I kind of feel like the fatalities, it's going to be tough for them to not become old hat, frankly.
Yeah.
Because there were so many in 10 and 11. I mean, so fucking many fatalities in 11.
Yes. It seems like we're at least going to get some riffs on some old fatalities in this. They showed Sub-Zero just straight up doing the head rip.
That seems to be the angle they're going for, because the 11 ones were already so goddamn over the top. Like, how do you top that? Like, again, it's kind of losing its impact. So yes, they seem to be just like, hey, here is, Kano ripping a dude's heart out.
Just nicely rendered.
Pretty sure they showed Sub-Zero pulling a guy's head off at some point.
Yes, they did.
Like, Sonya straight up does the, like, flaming kiss of death thing. It's just like, hey, here's all your old favorites looking very good now. I continue to be super excited about this. I don't mean to be down on it.
No, not at all. Like, I think what I came away from that is that, okay, this game isn't going to completely surprise me in all the major ways, but it looks like they've made another fun one of those, which I'm perfectly down for.
I mean, the main thing for me is that the writing and the execution were so strong in 11 that I will absolutely show up to see what they've done again here, because that game was extremely creative, like punching way above its weight for what a fighting game story should be.
Totally.
So if they're bringing those chops to this again, I'm very excited to see what they do with Johnny Cage's mansion here, which seems like the main background they showed.
And don't forget, Jean-Claude Van Damme will be making his appearance somewhere in there as a version of Johnny Cage.
I had no idea that they actually tried to make a Van Damme game back in the day before they ended up making MK. Like, I had no idea he had that direct a connection to all of this.
Well, remember, they were talking about making a Universal Soldier game.
Right.
That was one of the things that was like being prototyped, I guess, around the time that MK stuff was being done. But yeah.
That's October, the month of Spider-Man, and also this isn't my pick here. Alex, you probably want to talk more about this, but also Forza.
Yeah, Forza Motorsport.
Another Forza.
They're doing another Forza. I mean, they've been doing another Forza for some time. It's just now it's finally coming out.
Yeah,
it's been a while.
2 Horizons worth of time.
How do you feel about a new Forza?
I'm fine with it. I have definitely maybe leaned a little more toward the Horizon stuff, not just because of the absence of Motorsport, but also because those games have just been very good the last couple. I'm ready for another good simulation. I'm curious exactly what lessons they learned from the response to 7, between the economy and sort of like progression in that game. I am very interested to see like how those lessons are applied in this one. I don't, it's been long enough that I don't know what their vision for a Forza Motorsport is going to be beyond, hey, the cars look even better. As you thought the cars look good, those cars look like shit compared to what we're doing now.
Yeah, I'm excited to see this as a technical showpiece. I think that's about it for me, because I'm not a big sim guy.
Yeah.
Or really even car person at all. But I mean, I think they've said this is like 4K 60 with ray tracing, like just to kind of see the Series X pushed as hard as possible will be cool.
Yep.
Yeah, hopefully it's not a live service nightmare. Like
that would be nice.
I assume they eventually fixed 7. I don't know. I didn't keep up, but like that's kind of the arc of so many such games, right? Launches in a state that makes everybody furious and then slowly gets relaxed over time until people are happy with it. I assume that happened.
I don't know if it ever got to a point where people were happy with it, but I know they made some changes. I will say the economy in Forza Horizon 4 felt very much like a response to that game, because they just let you unlock a million things as fast as fucking possible in that game.
True, yes.
That is scheduled for this year, October 10th is the date on there. I'm just going to stick around in October quickly here and bop over and say Assassin's Creed Mirage got a pretty lengthy demo or showing at Ubisoft, a small one at Sony, and then a kind of longer one. This is their return to form.
That's the way they keep pitching it.
Yeah, of Assassin's Creed let's say the Assassin's Creed numbered games, back in the Assassin's Creed 1, 2, and 3, and 4, I guess. We'll count that in there. Yeah, looked... The art style, I thought when it first showed again, I was like, oh, this looks cartoonier or more stylistic than I thought it would, but I got over it pretty quickly, and it looked like you assassinate people, wrist blade one-shot people, parry, very much Assassin's Creed 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 style, which are the Assassin's Creed games that I really took to. You know, I kind of fell off of them as they went into their open world, loot-based assassinating.
You
gameplay
for a simpler time.
Well, gameplay-wise, it looks like it's doing those things. I hope they, obviously they will take the lessons, I hope, of, hey, the first game had a lot of interesting mechanics that felt like they were stretched thin because they had like 5 of them, right?
Yes.
Like, we're all tired of doing these tailing missions. I don't want to do these anymore. But the world building and the whole thing around it, the trappings were awesome.
Yeah.
I'm curious. I am so lost on the story of Assassin's Creed. I have no idea what's happening. I am curious if they just flush some of this down the toilet and try to start over with something else.
Well, I don't think they're going to do that because, again, Basim, who is the protagonist here in Mirage, was a central character in Valhalla, and the way that game's main story wraps up very heavily involves him and a lot of the stuff that was kind of like the current Earth version of whatever is going on in Assassin's Creed world right now.
All right, the out of the Animus stuff.
Well, and then back in, and then it's the whole thing. Like, look, at some point, I will sit you down, and I will yell at you about all the things that have happened in the last couple of games, because I mean, some of it I covered on one of our Game of the Year things when we did that Odyssey thing, because I feel like I talked for about 45 minutes about one thing that happened in that game. But yes, things have been progressing. I wouldn't say any of it is all that meaningful or important to me as an Assassin's Creed player, but there's a lot.
I would like to play through those games, but I don't have the...
You don't have the time or the need. It's
382 hours to play through them now.
Don't do it. Do not play through all of Valhalla. I'm saying it's absolutely not worth it.
But yeah, looking forward to that. That's this year slated for October 12th. All right, Brad, I'm going to circle back.
It feels weird to be nostalgic about Assassin's Creed 1. Feels it shouldn't be time for that, but at the same time, that was, 16 years ago?
Yeah.
I think. It's when that came out. So I guess that is a perfectly valid nostalgia window. I don't know. It's weird.
I'm more nostalgic for 2, but let's say 1...
Yeah.
One was kind of a game changer in a lot of ways, especially for the quote unquote parkour scene.
It laid a foundation for, what I think became of a more than justifiably popular series. But I think most people go back to that first game and are like, there were some ideas here. They are not all super well executed.
I mean, I think the real reason it feels weird to be nostalgic is because they have just made so goddamn many of those games.
They sure have.
You feel nostalgic for things that have been absent for a while.
You know what? I just want to do
Assassin's Creed is not a franchise I would describe as having been absent at any point since 2007.
I'm just trying to find a thing that's just a list of every Assassin's Creed game that has ever been.
Oh, you'll melt your computer. Don't do it.
I bet.
Hang on, I've got them in front of me.
I bet it's in the 20s.
Definitely at least 20. 19, 20, 23, 24,
especially if you're counting those 3 side scrollers as 3 separate games and stuff like that.
There are 20 There are 29 if you include the various mobile things that have also come out.
It's impressive.
So we'll wrap up the Assassin's Creed stuff saying they talked about the Assassin's Creed Nexus thing, which is their VR Assassin's Creed, which
God, who wants that?
I don't know. It's
somebody.
I mean, if they do an Animus thing, it could be kind of interesting conceptually, but there's that. And then they have their Assassin's Creed codename Jade, I think it was, Project Jade, which is their mobile Assassin's Creed they also talked about.
They're just set in China.
So the Assassin's Creed verse, Brad Shoemaker. Let's move away from Assassin's Creed into somewhere else.
Oh, geez. What else got talked about or announced here? Let's see. We talked about Fable. Alex, any thoughts on... I still just want to call it Yakuza.
Mm-hmm.
Can I just keep calling it Yakuza?
For the sake of shorthand, I'm okay with that.
Yakuza Infinite Wealth. That sounds pretty good.
Yeah. Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth if you want to be particular about it.
Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth. That's just going to take some time to get used to.
What a teaser that was. It seems like this is being set in Hawaii, or at least the chunk that they showed was set in Hawaii.
Did they confirm this is Hawaii, or is that just speculation?
There were people who were straight up doing photo comparisons with some beaches in Hawaii and looking for building placements and being like, well, okay, that exists on this beach. I can see this hotel here. And it also makes sense because other Japanese games have done spin-off things in Hawaii because it is a tourist destination of Japanese tourists.
Gotcha. So are these...
So there's 2 things here. There's the Gaiden game, which is the man with who without a name.
The man who erased his name.
Man who erased his name, which is the Kiryu side story, and I think that's coming out this year. And then the Like a Dragon new Ichiban game is next year.
So... do they interweave and cross universes at all?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. All I'll say is that Kiryu, despite not being the protagonist of 7, does factor into the story very briefly.
Well, they're both in 8, right? That's the whole thing.
They are. I don't know to what extent yet, though. They have not shown any of what the actual Kiryu stuff... I mean, obviously, they hadn't shown anything of this new game until they showed this trailer of nude Ichiban waking up on the beach and a whole bunch of people being like, holy shit, that guy's dick!
They put out screenshots. You should go look them up because they've got Kiryu with his new hairstyle in there.
Yeah. And I think Gaiden is supposed to lead into whatever is going on in the next game.
Okay. Man, I have to talk about another series. I just don't have it in me to catch up.
I bet that guide endgame is probably like 8 hours or less.
Do you think?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because if it's, I mean, it won't be like that DLC they put out for Judgment, which was just like a couple hours long. I'm sure it'll be a more fully fleshed out thing. But this is supposed to be a lead in to the next big Yakuza / Like a Dragon game. I don't imagine it's going to be some like gigantic 30-hour adventure.
Sure. Kiryu's got bangs.
Yes.
You should really go look this up.
Okay, let me go look up Kiryu with bangs.
Okay.
Also, the other screenshot is of
oh wow, they sure did give him some salt and pepper bangs.
Yep. The two characters from 7, Yamba?
Mm-hmm.
Was that the guy's name with the glasses?
The guy who was the houseless character. Yes, I think that was his name.
I can't remember the cop's name. Anyway, they're also back. They are in these screenshots as well.
Yeah. It doesn't surprise me. I mean, they put such a focus on those characters and Ichiban's friendship with them that I can't imagine they would lose them along the way.
Friends we've lost along the way.
Mm-hmm.
A Yakuza set in America seems like it could be wild, even partially.
Yeah.
And they were speaking English in the trailer, right?
Well,
Ichiban was not.
The tourists were. The people who were on the beach were.
That could be also very interesting.
Yeah.
All right. Nobody's mentioned it yet. I'm going to mention it, even though I got not that excited now. But Marathon. Sony decided to bring back Marathon.
Well, more accurately, they decided that in addition to deciding what all the other developers should be doing with their live service games, they also would like Bungie to make more games for them.
Yeah.
I bet. Well, I think this was in development before the acquisition happened.
Sure. But they also could have said, hey, don't do that. Go do something else if they really wanted to.
So yeah, Sony and owns Bungie, and Bungie owns Marathon, and Sony, I guess, owns. I don't actually know the deal, but maybe Bungie still owns Marathon, and Sony owns Bungie by way of Marathon and the whole thing. But PvP extraction shooter.
That's what it sounds like.
Marathon.
Yes,
Marathon.
Not a continuation of the famed Marathon franchise exactly.
Yeah, and when I learned about that, a little less interested. There were, I'm going to say, a decent amount of extraction style games shown.
Mm-hmm.
Not that I don't like them. It's just
they can be good.
There's a lot of them.
It does feel like the current de rigueur style of game.
Yeah, it 100% is the new battle royale, but I really like that mode, so I've by no means reached my saturation point with that game type.
Mm-hmm.
Also, Bungie makes incredible shooters, so
yes,
they make pretty good shooters.
Like,
I like their narrative stuff too, so I like seeing more of that.
Is this what I was necessarily looking for out of Bungie? Not necessarily, but like, can I think of anybody better to make a new multiplayer extraction game? Not really.
No. I'd like to see what their spin on that genre is, absolutely.
I absolutely will try this. Also, the art design looks amazing.
I'll say quickly here, Helldivers 2 was shown. I thought that was kind of an interesting pull for them. It wasn't expecting.
Definitely wasn't expecting that. Yeah.
Yeah. Looks like it's 3D, or at least behind the back ish, which could be cool. That's got a 2023 date though. That seems, that could move around. I have no
absolutely.
idea when that's going to be shown. Brad, do you have another one you want to pluck out of here?
You wrote down Star Trek Infinite on this list.
I did write down Star Trek.
I completely forgot about. Kind of got buried in all the other stuff getting talked about.
Yeah, that's Paradox's take on Star Trek.
Yeah, Nimble Giant is the developer. It sounds like.
We'll see.
Quantum League, which is a game I've not heard of. I don't think it was Quantum League.
It looks. I mean, look, I don't know that much about Star Trek, but I do know about.
You know a little
games.
now.
Yeah, I know a little. And at the end of that trailer, it looks 4X-ish.
Yes.
That's about.
Well,
that's
it's Paradox, so I really wouldn't have expected something wildly different from that.
Apparently, Nimble Giant made a competitive first-person shooter with time mechanics previously.
Okay.
And now they're pivoting. What, the game or
the one with time mechanics?
Quantum League?
Oh, I've heard of Quantum League.
Yeah, it sounds familiar.
Is the game they made previously?
And I'm not just thinking of Quantum Break. I think I have heard of Quantum League.
Oh, they've worked on Master of Orion as well, so they do have strategy chops.
Okay.
Anyway, like, it feels like a Star Trek 4X game has been, like, overdue by 15 years or something.
Well, especially with the popularity of that Stellaris mod that everyone who likes Star Trek has downloaded by now.
I still stare at that Stellaris Total Conversion and think about it. Thinking about messing with it at some point.
You should.
But now they're making this, so...
Yeah,
that's
and
cool.
there was a Stellaris Nexus, which I have it written down here, and I totally forget exactly what that is. Is that an expansion for Stellaris, or is that Stellaris coming to something else?
It's probably an expansion. They are still supporting that game, as far as I know.
Stellaris coming to VR with Stellaris and Assassin's Creed Nexus.
Mm-hmm.
Alex.
Yes.
Anything else you want to talk about?
Yeah, I got another little guy I want to talk about here.
Coming
from publisher Raw Fury. Star Trucker.
Okay.
It's a space trucking game.
Star Trucker.
Can you imagine why I might have been excited by the prospect of that?
You like trucking.
I do.
And
I like space.
Love stars.
And I like Star Trek puns. So this is all fitting together very nicely for my wheelhouse and my needs. I'm not super familiar with this developer. As far as I know, they have not made anything at this scale before. They made a game called Autumn Walk, which I don't really know much about. But what they showed in that brief trailer looked pretty cool.
Is it the poster for this looks pretty great? Looks like it's just the
I think these are quite literally trucks.
Yeah,
yes, they are space trucks.
Not just like ships that serve the same purpose as trucks. I mean, these are actual trucks.
I wouldn't want it any other way. Like, I loved the dumb space train stuff in that one Fail Better game, Sunless Sky or whatever that game was. And it's like, yeah, no, like, if we're going to do space trucking, just give me a truck what goes in space.
Okay.
Give me some space truck nuts.
Done.
Bet you'll get them.
Mm-hmm.
2024, space trucking.
Monster and Monster is the name of the developer.
Star Trucker, not
Star
Space
Trucker. Yeah.
Star Trucker. Okay, let's jump into let's just pop open the Final Fantasy bottle here and pour out a little. We talked. Did we talk about 16? Brad, you were talking about 16 before, earlier. This is like years ago, but it was just at the top of the show.
Yes.
They showed a little bit more of 16. That game is out basically by the time this goes up. You sneeze and that game will be out. It's out very, very soon. But they showed Final Fantasy VII Rebirth with a crowd going wild over two discs. Two discs.
It's weird to me because games have certainly downloads have been exceeding that size for a while, but I guess there's still something about 2 discs that just
2 discs
sets hearts aflame.
It's just weird. I think it is literally just them saying that to you is some sort of recognition of like, we know what you freaks like. Here you go.
It's a throwback.
Yeah.
Quite frankly, like it's been so long since there were 2 disc games that, you know, it's the same shit as like when they announced Final Fantasy VII. They're like, it's going to be on 3 CDs. What? So much game on there. You need 3 of them.
There's 3 of them.
So yeah. Rebirth seems to be taking the Final Fantasy, let's say, remix approach even further from what I can remember.
You don't know Sephiroth.
Like, it seems completely divergent at this point, almost.
You still don't understand.
I mean, I guess they'll wrap back around to some 7 stuff. Like, I think they talk about Nibelheim in there or whatever in that
Your
trailer.
7 memory is so much better than mine.
But isn't Nibelheim the village that burned on that fateful day?
On that fateful day.
I'm pretty sure that was the one. It's been a while. Anyway, it seems... I shouldn't say the right decision, but it seems cool that they are just going, fuck it, we're making a new thing now. Like, we weren't just dabbling with that at the end of the first game. Like, this is straight up a new franchise now.
We're the 2020s, the decade of the multiverse.
Especially the extent to which they are literally out there saying, hey, you don't need to play the first one to get this one. You can totally just get this one.
Which, yeah, okay. Do you believe that? Like, come on. Like, if you're not going to reference, I mean, I guess you'll just have a catch up at the end, but Do they have a FAQ up on their page about what I can import into Final Fantasy VII Rebirth?
Nothing. You got to let that go, man. There's nothing. There's going to be nothing for you.
Come on. It's like, I wish I had known that before going and getting all that materia and running around. Jeez. Come on. It's an RPG. I'm role-playing here.
Mm-hmm.
All right. We talk about... All right. I'm going to name some quick ones here. Here's my rapid fires. Ready?
Mm-hmm.
It was cool to see Talos Principle 2.
Yeah, it's cool that they're doing that.
Yeah, that's kind of a beloved game. I can never remember how much I played of it. I kind of want to go back and play more of it because people really like that game. We've got Warhammer 40K Space Marine 2. They showed some of that at Summer Games Fest. They showed a co-op bit of that, which I thought was pretty cool. That game looks fun and dumb. Looking forward to that, but I don't think that has a date yet, just 2023, unfortunately. Another quick one here. Yes, Your Grace Snowfall.
Yeah, I remember that game.
Yeah, that was a cool game. Yeah. That was kind of cool to see. Sorry, I'm writing these down in my notes as I say these. There was a Frostpunk 2 got shown at the PC.
Let's get sad.
Yeah. Did you watch that trailer?
I did, yeah. Look, if they're gonna do one of those again, I feel like they found the right angle for it.
Along those veins, Citizen Sleeper 2.
Yes.
I mean, different games, but, kind of intrigue there. Citizen
Kind of
Sleeper
surprised
2.
they announced that so soon.
Hmm.
But, also, I'm down to play more of that. I'm not here to complain.
Strike while the iron is hot.
Yeah.
In the stuff they showed, there was voice acting, and there wasn't voice acting in the original, right? It was all text?
No, it was all text.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, that's cool if they are able to kind of beef up the production values based on the success of the first one. That's neat.
I wonder if what they're doing will play off the ending that you end up choosing at all.
That seems hard.
Yeah, it's hard. I'm not saying that's an easy problem to solve.
I'm sorry, going down the quick list here. Quickly, because I don't think there's much to say about it yet. John Carpenter's Toxic Commando.
John Carpenter will accept your checks.
Looked like a kind of maybe campy zombie game. I don't know. The thing they showed looked like 3 different styles of gameplay happening.
Yeah.
So no idea how that winds up.
I'm really looking forward to someone untangling exactly how much John Carpenter is in this.
It seems like it's just some kind of multiplayer. Looking at this bullet list here. Buddy movie vibes and over-the-top humor, action, and horror of classic 80s cinema.
Mm-hmm.
Teaming up with friends to face down hordes of monsters. Explosive cocktail of visceral FPS action and apocalyptic environments.
They're just using all the words.
Yeah.
Upgrading your skills and testing new abilities. A multiplayer kill a bunch of monsters game.
Got it. From John Carpenter. From the mind of John Carpenter.
Yes. Or the couch of John Carpenter.
Yeah. I'm going to jump over here. I have 103 games listed here, and that's not including the 7,000 games from the PC game showcase thing.
Any thoughts on the Persona stuff that got announced?
I mean, so 3 Reload seems like the meatiest, most interesting thing that came out of that, which is their big, modern engine remake of Persona 3. One I've never played, so that would be wholly new to me when that thing comes out. They also had Persona 5 Tactica there, which is sort of their turn-based strategy game, which is less interesting to me because I think I'm a little burned out on all things Persona 5 at this point. But that Reload game looks like it'll probably, that's very exciting for people, especially people who like Persona 3. Though I guess they got rid of the female protagonist, which is a thing people are not very happy about.
Yeah, they cut all of the add-on content for 3 from this remake.
Oh, from Fez?
It's just the base game that they're remaking. With a pretty blunt statement about it.
Yeah.
What'd they say?
I can't remember exactly. They're just basically along those lines of this is just a remake of the base game.
Oh, because I was going to say they'll probably just put that out later. They add so much weird releases. Like Persona 3 Reload Fez would totally just come out.
Yeah.
I do have to recognize Tactica as one of 2 games that got dates in November.
It's true.
Yeah.
Plenty of stuff got dated for October. October is actually reasonably busy now.
And we got a December too. for that Avatar game.
Which I haven't even mentioned Avatar, actually, before I get into that. I was just going to say, this is the lightest November I have ever seen in my 20-plus years of covering the video game industry.
It's pretty thin.
Again, October got half a dozen new games. There's a lot there.
October looks like a real October now.
November used to be the month.
I know.
And the Like a Dragon spinoff and Persona 5 Tactica got dated for November, and that's it. And there were a handful of like Switch ports and stuff there already. Like, what is happening to November?
People want to buy games in October, apparently. Surely there is some market research somewhere that determines this.
Yeah, I doubt a lot of games are going to get announced for release this year at this point. This was kind of it for that to happen. So September, October, like pretty stacked.
Yeah.
And
And
that's kind of it.
Again, like just to kind of hammer it home, it's not like there was stuff announced before this for November.
No.
It is. I'm looking at the big old list on the Internet Games Database, and even with everything, there are 13 games.
Yep.
Some stuff will slide in there eventually, but it still feels like it's going to be a pretty thin November overall.
Probably not much, though. Like I said, this is usually the kind of traditional cutoff for we need enough of a marketing window to push this game.
Yeah.
Before it comes out.
I bet Nintendo will pop something on there
that's
at some
possible.
point.
In fact, like Nintendo Direct Watch is on again.
Yeah.
On Twitter, everybody's like, oh my God, when's the next Direct? They have to do one, right? It's time. It's the window. They always do one. What's going on? But at the same time, like they have to be very heads down on the new stuff at this point, right?
Yeah.
Like Zelda is out. That was like
Zelda could carry the rest of their year financially if they needed to.
Like it feels like Tears of the Kingdom was going to be the kind of big swan song for the Switch. But I mean, I'm sure there are other games scheduled.
Like, what is it? Pikmin's still coming.
All right, Pikmin 4 is I think next month, right?
Yeah, it's soon.
Right.
But like you guys said, September and October are picking up a lot of weight here. There's a decent amount happening across those 2 months, so that'll probably carry us into November.
It's just weirdly lopsided compared to how things normally go. But there's so much coming out in September, October. Like everybody's going to have stuff left over that they haven't gotten to yet.
Yeah, some stuff will get shoved around.
Let's see.
New Remnant.
Yeah, actually, that's literally what I was about to say.
Yeah,
Remnant 2 got a date, which is next month, which is cool. Is that early access? Is that coming out in early access?
I was wondering that. That feels like one they might try and put out there as an early access release.
Let's see. No, Steam says it's just coming out.
Okay.
That's cool. They dropped From the Ashes, or when they dropped the subtitle, it's just Remnant 2, but
I think everyone shorthanded that game as Remnant anyway, so it makes sense.
I saw some strong hands-on impressions of that coming out of LA.
Yeah.
It looks good. First game was very good. I'll play that.
Yeah. Go back into the world of Remnant.
Yeah. Are we through most of the non-Starfield stuff?
Well, we should. If we're gonna save Starfield, we got to talk about Avatar, right?
Yeah, that's the one I was going to bring
Avatar.
up. Actually, I was going to. I'm weirdly kind of bullish on that game, despite not really giving a shit about the Avatar thing.
I mean, that's the thing is that what they showed didn't look bad at all. Like, it's a nice looking world. Like, it looks like it is like they've made a perfectly cromulent first person adventure in that world. It is just unfortunately a world that I don't care about at all.
Yeah, like, I mean, I don't either, but I also feel like you can tell a good story in any setting, or you can make a fun game in any setting. So, like, the fact that I don't currently care about it, I'm not gonna treat as a disqualifier or anything. But also, yes, it's Ubisoft. It's an open world. They have a lot to prove there. Between Assassin's Creeds and Far Cry's and a bunch of other open world games over the years, like, is this going to be full of repetitive icon activities? Maybe.
And towers.
I don't know if we're past this point, but it is a licensed product. So, sometimes that shackles developers and creatives in a way that doesn't benefit the game occasionally. Yeah. I don't know I don't know the Avatar verse well enough to know if they are trying to create their synergistic property across all media. You know, this will tie into this, and it fills in the gap between movie 803 and 804, and you know.
Well, right now there's only 2 movies, and as of the time when this comes out, there will still only be 2 movies, but there are like 3 or 4 more coming.
They actually just delayed 3.
Like indefinitely, right?
No, I think they pushed it a year.
Oh, okay. For release, or
if I'm not mistaken.
Filming?
I think they've done a lot of the filming for those already.
Okay.
I think 3, didn't they shoot 2 and 3 together? And then I think they're going to shoot 4
shrugging, I don't know.
5 together. Yes, Avatar 3 was supposed to be end of next year, and they've pushed that to 2025.
2025?
Yes.
Dang. Okay.
And it's not because that second movie didn't do well or anything. It did extremely well.
Yes. I was just kind of shocked at the production values of this, honestly, because I mean, I joked about having reviewed the previous Avatar tie-in game on the stream, but like that very much was just a tie-in by the numbers movie action game.
Yeah.
And this seems a lot more ambitious than that. And that's kind of interesting. It sort of looks like a Far Cry. Like, just the stuff they showed you doing seems like it very much might be in the Far Cry mold, which might not be super interesting, but
I'd say more than somewhat looked like Far Cry.
Yeah.
It's definitely in that wheelhouse.
I mean, it straight up seemed like there are like industrial camps, outposts to take over.
Totally.
Yeah.
There's vehicle stuff. There's co-op. Seemed pretty Far Cry. I don't know. It could be cool though. I'll give it a chance.
For sure. Yeah. I think the setting and the kind of tonal setup for it, again, not grabbing me, but it looks dense enough to maybe overcome some of my initial aversions to it.
Mhm.
Yeah. I mean, it looks very good. If it's just a very pretty open world that is fun to roam around and do stuff in, that'll be enough for me.
But if it's like destroy toxic waste dump 432, then I think that'll run its course pretty quickly.
Yeah. Did that get a date at all?
December.
Yes, December.
Oh, right. Yes, of
that's
course.
the December game.
I was
December
literally just
7th.
looking at that. Yes. That is out. Yeah. There's your end of the year game.
Mhm.
Yeah.
After you have the month of November off to catch up.
Come on, Square, get on it. Just drop Rebirth right for December. Yeah, there's a ton of other stuff here that we're not mentioning. I'm not even going to write these down. Foam Stars. There was Lies of P that had a demo drop.
We streamed that demo last week.
Yeah, it's
There's
all
like-
right.
You want to see what it looks like?
Game Concord, which turned out to be another kind of PvP shooter. It's just a ton of stuff. And a bunch of stuff, again, from that PC game show. But I think,
Is it time?
well, you know what? Let's take a break. Let's come back and let's talk about Starfield. Not that I want to give Starfield undue time on this thing, but they showed a lot of it, and it seems to be
They
dense.
gave us a lot of time, so I feel
Yeah.
like we should respond in kind.
Yes. Okay, let's take a quick break. We're gonna come back. There's some news stories we're gonna wrap up in this wrap up with the Starfield and the business here. But yeah, we'll take a quick break. We'll be back in just a bit. This week's show is brought to you by Bespoke Post. Brad and Alex. Everybody knows about Bespoke Post by now, right?
Oh, yeah.
Right. It's that service that drops knives left and right.
Yeah, that's right. We got
legendary
knives.
knife shows up right there in the mail.
I've been getting a ton of stuff from Bespoke Post. This month I got a cooler, like a foldable cooler, which is pretty useful. I'll say to keep things cool in a cooler.
Yeah, like whatever you're cutting with your knife, then you can put it in the cooler.
Yes, my big knife. Alex, what have you gotten?
I just got a thing what got soap in it, and also like shampoo and conditioner bars for your scalp. Like it's it's hot out there and you need to keep yourself clean.
Yeah,
Now I got the hookup.
or hydrated with your cooler.
Yeah.
Brad Shoemaker, you rocking any new Bespoke Post items?
Got an old-fashioned kit.
Ooh.
Wanna, I think, just add booze.
Okay.
Came with everything but the booze.
Like I said, keep yourself hydrated. We're talking about Bespoke Post's Box of Awesome, where every month you get sent something from bespoke post in their Box of Awesome from boxofawesome.com. You can go there, you can take a quiz, and your answers will help them pick the right Box of Awesome for you. They have new boxes every month across a ton of categories, and each box is valued at around $70. But of course, you're only going to pay a fraction of that price. Plus, with each Box of Awesome, you're supporting small businesses. 90% of everything that comes in your Box of Awesome is from a small, up, and coming brand. It's free to sign up, and you could skip a month or cancel at any time. Get 20% off your first monthly box when you sign up at boxofawesome.com and enter the code Nextlander at checkout. That's boxofawesome.com, code Nextlander for 20% off your first box. Boxofawesome.com, code Nextlander. Thanks, Bespoke Post. All right, we are back. And I think it's time we talk about Starfield. This game, Microsoft and Bethesda keep pushing on us.
Wait, Bethesda's making a Garfield game?
Garfield. It's going to be a little janky. Well, I'm hoping Garfield really has a quest. I bet there was a Garfield game called Quest for Mondays. I bet there's probably something there.
Quest for the space lasagna.
Yes. Starfield. We got this one. This thing is like right around the corner relatively, September 6th.
Speaking of lasagna, this thing's got layers.
Meaty. They showed quite the demo over at Microsoft. If they can deliver on what they're showing, this game has the potential to really break through. There
are some ifs here, but
it's a Bethesda game.
With all the baggage that comes along with.
It's got a lot of systems.
The back of box feature list for this, let's say, is kind of insane. It's kind of insane. It basically seems like it's all of No Man's Sky plus an entire Bethesda RPG spread across 1,000 planets.
It sounds ambitious.
Actually, it's more than No Man's Sky. It's everything No Man's Sky and a bunch of other space stuff that game does not have.
So they showed, they really showed a lot. So they showed the combat, which seems like they are, again, this is their words, not mine, opening up the combat so that your abilities and your perks and the way you build your character can complement your playstyle. To whatever kind of silencers. That one guy really loved using a jetpack and throwing grenades on people. What was the one that was psychic punch, mental punch, some kind of punch?
I don't know. It's a lot of punches. Like I love that on top of. I mean, this was actually like a very savvy move. On top of fucking 40 minutes of like feature after feature after feature. At the end, they just sort of imply like, oh yeah, there's biotics in this also.
Yeah,
that seems to be the implication.
Kind of a wrap-up, very quick teaser at the end of some floating stuff floating around and somebody doing the hand stuff.
Traits are back? Is that a thing? Does anybody here know like CRPGs enough to comment on that? I essentially saw a bunch of people going like, "Oh my god, their traits are back."
Oh, did they go away?
I don't know if that's a thing they stopped doing for a while. I really don't know.
I don't know either. The perk system, the what's the Fallout one? What's it called?
Special
is,
yeah, I think it's separate from that, but I'm not 100% sure.
Obviously space exploration, building your ship was shown off quite a bit.
Yeah, I mean, it's weird because they did this last year. They did this kind of exact same thing last year of saying, here's what's in this game, and it was a lot of the same stuff. It was a lot of the 1,000 planets and here you can build your ship, and then that's reflected when you walk around in your ship and the layout, and
but they definitely got more into the weeds about like the modifications and the ways you can build out your ship.
Yeah, like this looks much more like a complete finished game than it did last year. But man, it's just thing after thing of like, here's space dogfighting, here's managing the power systems of your ship, here's boarding other ships.
And commandeering other ships.
You're just taking possession of those ships you board and straight up adding them to your fleet. It's just like, it really feels like they just sat down and said, like, what is literally everything you would want to do in a spacefaring game? Like, we've all played Elite and Privateer and all those types of games for 30 years. Let's just make the final one of those. Let's just like put it all in there. It's kind of how this feels.
Okay, but what if one of the things I don't want to do in space is talk to Bethesda NPCs?
I bet you could probably still get a satisfying amount of time out of this game without ever talking to anybody.
Just skipping through all the dialogue.
You could probably just get through the tutorial and then never do another quest again.
I should say they don't look awful here, but they definitely have a little bit of that. They are staring you dead in the eye and barely blinking, and it is, the voice performances seem fine, but the face delivery and stuff is a little robotic.
At this point, I would feel cheated if we did not get that. Like that feels core to the Bethesda experience to me at this point.
Turn on Bethesda mode.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of the things that stood out or surprised. I didn't realize they were doing the planets procedurally with, it sounds like, the bespoke quest parts sprinkled onto the planet, which sounds like an interesting thing. I mean, look, my fear for these size scope games, be it Bethesda, be it a Ubisoft game, is the modular cookie cutter business that winds up happening, where you're in, Dungeon 42. It's the same exact, Mass Effect even have this problem. You're on the same habitat, doing kind of a made-up procedural quest, right? Like those are killer. That really sucks the wind out of a lot of stuff. Skyrim walked a nice balance between feeling like it was throwing made-up garbage at you to go do in a cookie-cutter template cave, but for the most part, it was fun enough that I didn't mind it, by hour 50 or 60. I worry about that with this game. So it's interesting to see that they are at least pitching a more handcrafted experience inside a procedurally generated world, right? So that your world might be a little different.
Interesting to me that it seems like a given planet is going to be different for everybody.
Yeah.
Was what I got from that. I don't know if that is...
Like, there are landmarks that are going to be on every major, every planet that has, like, a specific story beat attached to them, but they might be in different places.
So, like, clearly, like, the... What is it, New Atlantis? Is that... Well, they straight up said what planet New Atlantis is on, but yeah, I would assume, like, every story-based city is on the same planet for everybody, but as far as random stuff, it sounded like that's not going to be the case. I don't even know if that's terrain as well. Is that literally everybody's, like, Planet X has a different layout?
Hard to say, because we haven't seen it obviously up close, but I will say right now, my heart goes out to guides editors everywhere.
Yeah, I mean, it sounded like the kind of tertiary stuff, like, like abandoned robotics base or like space drug lab, like those types of side questy sort of locations might be totally randomized as to what planets they're showing up on. Which is like cool for swapping stories with other people, but I don't know if that's like super meaningful if you just play the game in a vacuum, because how would you know the difference?
Yeah, I mean, but it could also add to a nice bit of reinforcing the exploration aspects of it as you're kind of wandering around, being like, oh man, I stumbled into this thing.
Yeah, and what they can do, I don't know if they are doing this, but now that I think about it, like they can kind of keep track of what you have encountered. So if they're like sort of generating layouts at runtime, as you like approach a planet or whatever, they can kind of maybe try to mold what you're going to see toward things you haven't seen yet, or things you haven't seen in a while, that sort of thing. Maybe there's something like that going on.
We'll have to see how it kind of all works out. And, on top of that, I think, or it seemed like the companions you have are kind of bespoke and tuned and written and maybe not randomized like your space cowboy and your robot man.
I think there are the story, like the authored characters that are unique and named with a bunch of unique writing, but you can also
your mercenaries.
You can also recruit like generated people to your crew instead if you prefer. And they all bring skills. I mean, there's like almost a whole management sim aspect to like building out a crew with people with different skills that can enhance research in different ways and that whole thing.
It feels very ambitious. They don't have the best track record, from my perspective, of delivering on that ambition in a way that realizes the pitch all the time. Fallout games are fun. They're great. I think the jank is sometimes game breaking for me. Like it gets a little out of hand in how much those games are bursting at the seams.
Yes.
If they're hopefully going in and retooling a lot of that stuff. I don't know exactly what code they're reusing or recycling, or if they are just, I assume this game seems big enough that they probably use some systems.
Oh yeah, this is absolutely built on their existing tech. I mean, they've been out there saying, hey, this is the debut of the Creation Engine 2.
Okay.
Which I'm sure it's got a new renderer and all that stuff, but I mean, I promise there's, the underpinnings are carried over.
So yeah, I'm pretty excited though. They did a great job in pitching me on the promise of this game and got me very excited.
I don't know if you saw Matt Booty was out there apparently saying this will be the least buggy Bethesda game that ever at launch.
I did see that, which isn't saying, again, there's a couple of backhanded compliments you could throw at here, but
low bar,
yeah,
of course, but at the same time, like I am inclined to somewhat tentatively take them at their word because it's been so much longer since the studio shipped a game than ever before.
Yes.
Like, they used to make these things in 2, 3, 4 years, and now it's been 8 since Fallout 4. So they've definitely had way more time on this one.
Do you count Fallout 76 as anything? I mean, some of the team must be working on that.
I'm sure. I know some of BGS worked on that. I think it was led out of a different studio, though. I'm sure that did consume some resources.
But yeah, you're right. I mean, I have my doubts, and I will, as much as I doubt Bethesda's ability to deliver on all of their promise, what they showed here is making me, I wouldn't call it inspiring, that's maybe a little too lofty, but extremely eager to play it.
Yeah, I mean, the quality that struck me about this is like there are a bajillion people who, if you said, what's your like ideal space game, they would basically describe this game.
Yes, or at least what they are pitching it as.
Right. Well, yeah. The pitch for this is what they would pitch. Like I want more planets than I could ever visit, and I want to be able to build my own ships and assemble my own fleet and hire my own crew and be a pirate if I want and be a smuggler if I want and
go inside the ship and see it walk around it and land,
fly it around and do space combat and like manage systems on the ship and just on and on and on. Like it just kind of seems like what you want out of a space game. Again, there are a lot of questions that need to be answered still about how well they execute on a lot of it. I think it's like writing, like the quality of the writing. Do the side things or do the activities get repetitive?
Right.
And of course, the jank and bugs are kind of the big ones for me. Even like, even I was thinking about even like boarding ships sounds super exciting, but even that, I wonder if you board half a dozen ships and then you're just like, I'm finding the same loot and the same enemies on all of these.
Right.
Like, the layouts are slightly different, but they are procedurally jammed together. Like, maybe I don't actually need to board every ship I see because they're all kind of the same. I don't know if it's going to turn out like that.
Or like, what happens when your ship gets destroyed? Like, do you lose ships? Do you get insurance on ships? Do you just reload the game from a previous checkpoint if your ship gets blown up? Like, is there a risk to trying to board ships? You might lose something, or are you just going out there and trying to acquire as many ships as possible?
I'm mainly just thinking from the standpoint of it getting repetitive. It's like, how many of the 1,000 planets are you going to go to before you feel like you've seen everything?
Yeah,
that kind of thing. I don't know. Hopefully they've done the work.
Yeah.
I kind of glossed over in the presentation. Apparently, different planets have different gravity.
Yeah, they
did say that. Yeah,
with the
which
combat
is kind of wild because most games, like Mass Effect, certainly never bothered with stuff like that.
Yeah,
I don't think No Man's Sky does either in any major respect. There's like this combat encounter here where you're shooting guys and they just go flying.
Yeah,
and through the air and stuff.
Well, they even talk about some of the zero-G combat, which it's not the newest thing, but it's interesting. Where they're like, energy weapons won't have recoil, and ballistic weapons will. And
that stuff sounded cool. Yeah, like the zero-G in space stuff is cool, but like to actually have every planet have its own different amount of gravity is really interesting.
Yeah.
Some of the tech stuff they were talking about I thought was super fascinating about like, they've got global illumination and they're actually like lighting each planet based on like the intensity and distance of the star and what the atmospheric composition is and everything, like doing like real math there to determine how every planet looks, which is super cool.
Mm-hmm.
It seems very ambitious.
Yes. It was a strong pitch.
I hope it's good.
We're like, we're 2 months away from this thing being released. So not even. So that is soon. It's a game that will be on Game Pass. It's like, it's kind of amazing to have all of this stuff finally feel like it's coming together in a weird way.
How much of that $7.5 billion for Bethesda is concentrated in this one release?
I know it really feels like
a sizable chunk at least.
Everything comes down to this. Like, who's not going to sign up to Game Pass to play this?
It really feels like an all-in, chips all in on this. So yeah, Starfield. I wouldn't say it stole the show, but it was definitely, it's up there in the things that out of this. It was a known quantity, but I think they fleshed out some of the details in it in a really interesting and they didn't gloss over too much. They showed it's a game that's 2 months away from release. They have to be in a state that's ready to ship. This thing. How many times did it get delayed? Was it twice?
I don't know about specific delays.
Couple times at least.
The big one was last November slipped to by June, and then June slipped to September.
Okay. So there is, this is kind of, you put this down in the news, but there was some performance stuff that came out afterward, Brad, about the frame rate.
Yeah, they confirmed it's only going to run at 30 frames per second, no performance mode on the Xboxes, which got a lot of people very upset, judging by Twitter, which, I don't know, this does not seem like the one to get upset over.
I just, anything running for this game. Look, if they're saying it, and it sounds like from what they are saying is they can push above 30. They want it to be. This is what they're saying. Yeah, they want it to be consistent.
Like that makes perfect sense to me. Like the stuff Todd Howard said was like, hey, it's running well. It's usually running over 30. Sometimes it hits 60, but the way he was describing it, a performance mode that is oscillating between 30 and 60 all the time sounds awful. I would rather only have it locked at 30 than that.
Same.
But also, this is a next-gen only game. This is not cross-gen. This doesn't run on 10-year-old consoles. It's doing a ton of stuff, at some point, I was saying this back when these consoles came out, don't get too attached to these 60 frames per second modes because,
right,
we're always going to get to the point where, you've got a fixed performance budget and developers are going to want to start using more of that to do new things, either visually or mechanically, that you haven't seen before, or that they feel like they've never done before. And hitting performance is like a moving target, game development's very hard. You can't necessarily say, hey, we're going to be able to do all this at 60 3-4 years before the game comes out.
Totally.
So yeah, I think this trend is going to increase rapidly, I think, as we start moving away from cross-gen releases and start getting more stuff like this.
Yeah, our transitional period, and we've been there for a while, was performance and quality mode, right? That's hey, we're gonna give you what we can't give you both, right? So we're gonna trade off. And now I feel like, with Starfield, and I don't know if Redfall falls into this category, but we will get into situations where we can't even do there is no performance mode.
Yeah,
it just doesn't exist.
I don't think there is any hitting a steady 60 on these consoles with this game. Redfall was a case where they straight up said before release, hey, it'll be in there, just not at launch. So
yeah,
that was more just, and also nobody really seems to care at this point.
Well, I think it was I think Redfall kind of primed a little of maybe the conversation coming in here because it's Microsoft and the lack of that mode. It feels more like a trend than maybe it should in a weird way with Redfall. Maybe bumbling is a very strong word, but maybe it's apt there with that release.
Yeah, my thing with this though is look at every Bethesda Game Studios release on consoles since Oblivion or even Morrowind, if you want to go that far back. They never hit steady performance. They always struggle. Fallout 4 was a mess at launch.
There was a comment in the IGN article that you sent around that was if Bethesda winds up launching Starfield at 30 frames a second, it will be the best running Bethesda launch.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yes. That's not inaccurate. If this runs at a fully locked 30 all the time, I will consider that a victory. The bigger thing is people just seem to be looking at this and going oh, I was sold a bill of goods on these new consoles. Like you said, this was the era of 60 frames per second. The consoles just are not that. Like, they're never going to be that because they're, you know, like, consoles by nature have to be compromised in a bunch of ways to come out at the price point that the market will tolerate, you know?
Or it's just not infinite power, you know?
Right. Well, that, yeah. And, you know, they come out on day one. They're already, what's out on the PC, they're already outdated on day one and will only become more so over time. Like, you just can't expect a piece of hardware that is 3 years old now to turn in infinite performance forever.
Or the compromise is you have to scale stuff back to make it run. And I think, you know, I'm someone who plays on quality unless I really want the frames, and I like seeing the bells and whistles. So I'm okay with this. If it's, you know, obviously if it's a racing game or a fighting game,
yes, absolutely.
That's a different story.
That's indefensible. Like some genres need to be that smooth for gameplay reasons.
Yeah, or sometimes when I'm playing a game and it's like, you know, I think I just like this. This is more fluid, like God of War or something. Or like, you know, I just enjoy the combat more at 60 here than the trade-offs I'm getting, which I don't notice. But I don't know. It doesn't bother me that much.
Me either.
And at least they're getting ahead of it.
Yes. I mean, it's good that they got out there and said it. It's just this game is just not the hill to die on for this sort of thing. Like a very basic shooter with like a very static world that isn't doing a bunch of stuff like this game is doing in terms of tracking NPCs all over the place and simulating a bunch of stuff. Like, that makes more sense. But like, eventually we're just going to get back to the 30 frames as standard, you know, kind of the way consoles have always been. Like, we're getting closer and closer as this generation gets older.
Yeah, and then we'll push past it again, and then we'll have a crop of 60 frames per second games, and then as the, you know, the assets get bigger and the, you know, amount of instant stuff, you know, like, look, you can make your own ship in this game. They really can't. I would feel bad if they have to account for every monstrosity people are going to make to not bog that whole system down.
Or, you know, like, people forget, like, Bethesda games are games that like track NPCs like as they walk across the world, you know, like, like, these are games where, like, you know, everything in your immediate surroundings doesn't just like blink out of existence the second you leave, you know, like, they just are tracking a lot more stuff going on.
You have to have
than most games.
The overhead
and
for
like,
8,000 cheese wheels.
Yes, that's right. You know, and that's why these games are so janky and run kind of like shit.
So we'll see how this one goes.
Yeah, we'll see how this goes. And, you know, again, I'll probably wind up getting this on PC and see if there's a noticeable difference between what the
I checked.
Series X and PC are doing.
So they're already listing it in the Xbox store that you buy it once and it runs on Xbox and PC. I mean, you know, granted, it's the Windows Store version you'll be playing on PC.
Yeah. If
that's something you're not happy with, but you can just buy it once and play it on both.
I'm gonna Game Pass it, man.
Or that,
yeah. So I'll be curious to see where that is. I assume it'll be cross save, right? Like, okay, their stuff has pretty much always been at this point, right? So yeah, that's Starfield. It's out extremely soon. One of the highlights I think of this summer of games. A lot of things shown there, but that was one that is releasing so soon and also has me really interested.
And I mean, look, as much as like this was the presentation they needed to have for that game, given how soon it is out, like, I feel like they still managed to present something that seems pretty impressive.
For sure. And again, not a huge fan of where Bethesda's been lately, and this has me pretty excited.
I've never loved one of these games, is the thing. Like, I've never loved any of those Fallouts, I've never loved any of those Elder Scroll games, but I am still very excited to try this one out and maybe run into the exact same problem I always have with them.
They didn't mention anything about sharing or any kind of, like, connecting with other players or something.
No, I don't think there's any multiplayer features at all. Maybe I could see them rolling some kind of like sharing ship designs kind of thing out or something like that.
Yeah.
Maybe.
All right, that's Starfield. I think that's probably going to wrap up. Again, there are hundreds, I think literally hundreds of games that got announced here. We went through a bunch of them. We'll talk a little bit more about some of the other news here. I'll just jump in and say, don't expect to play Starfield on your new Xbox anytime soon.
I forget which interview this came out of. Phil Spencer, I think Bloomberg is who he told. Don't expect an Xbox Series X Pro or anything like that anytime soon. We have no plans. We're not getting the kind of feedback that would indicate that's the thing we should do.
I think they're right.
Which, like, you know, there have been some rumors about a PS5 Pro in development, but I mean, that doesn't necessarily mean it'll actually see the light of day or not.
Right.
Yeah. Yes, I agree. We do not need more console SKUs right now.
No.
It was funny when I first clicked on that story you sent around the Bloomberg article. I thought it was going to be more geared towards sunsetting the S and being like, oh, do we need to basically figure out a new SKU system to leave that one behind and move forward?
No, they'll never be able to do that. I mean, they're bound to that thing now because the install base is there, and so everything they ship this generation has to run on that thing.
Do you think that was a mistake?
I don't think so.
No, I think they're navigating it just fine.
I mean, sales wise, absolutely not. Like, that thing is selling very well.
It's like annoying for developers, but they are selling those systems.
I mean, they rolled out a new SKU at the thing. They're now selling a 1 terabyte S. Which is cool. It would have been a lot cooler if they had just rolled it in at the same price.
Yeah.
Instead of jacking it up $50.
They did not.
Because that's every dollar closer to an X makes the S make less sense. But also $512 is not a lot on the S.
And I feel like in my mind with the S, Xbox's streaming service would be more mature by this point, you know, and that you'd be able to stream higher quality games to the S. You just needed the hardware, right?
Yes.
But I feel like it's not quite there yet, you know, or at least they haven't put the push behind it that I thought they would have by this point.
They're getting there. They actually just rolled out the Xbox library on GeForce Now, which apparently works extremely well from what I've seen.
Oh, yeah? Okay.
Yeah.
So do you just hook in your account there?
Yes. I assume there's some account linking thing there. I'm not 100% sure.
I think that's probably, in my mind, the bigger solution for that problem than actually putting new hardware or replacing hardware at that point. Other news, this is a pivot away from the not E3 stuff, but there was some Embracer news, Brad.
Just real fast, Embracer is doing a deep restructuring.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Which is going to see layoffs, studio closures, and project cancellations, although they say anything already announced is going to release.
Yeah, it sounds like they don't have the numbers yet or what that means in terms of their at least human downsizing, but they are looking to shed some costs.
Yes.
They say
and they are also, there's a quote in there about the Lord of the Rings stuff where they, amid all of the canceled projects, they're like, I believe they say exploiting this property is a top priority, and this it is a better use of time than some of these other projects that we are canceling, which is a very matter-of-fact way of putting that.
Yeah, that came from the COO. I'm not quite sure what venue he said that in, but we own Lord of the Rings, and we know we need to be exploiting Lord of the Rings in a very significant fashion. And turning that into one of the biggest gaming franchises in the world. Good luck.
You and everybody else.
That's... Anyway.
They really set the bar there with the... Well, they didn't make Gollum, did they? That wasn't them.
That was Daedalic.
Daedalic made
that was Daedalic,
but I mean, they own the rights to it.
Yeah.
And they put it out. I still want to know who this mystery $2 billion collapse deal was with. But it seems like off the back of that, not getting that deal has like really torpedoed their expansionist plans.
Yeah. I've seen a lot of reporters going around on social media like, seriously, if you know anything about that deal, please come talk to us because no one is talking right now.
Games Industry Biz has a pretty good last paragraph wrap up here. I'm just going to read it just to refresh everybody because we've talked a lot about Embracer over the last, let's say, 5 years. Embracer had been on a buying spree for years now in most meaningful acquisitions of the past. Crystal Dynamics, Eidos Montreal, and Square Enix Montreal for $300 million in May 22. Then they shut down Square Enix Montreal and the QA team in November of that year. Asmodee, if you guys remember that one, that was $2.7 billion. 2.7 billion pounds in 2021, and then Lord of the Rings IP, Tripwire, limited run, and more for $600 million in 2022.
I forgot they got limited run. They also got Gearbox.
Yes. So
And Saber, who is all over the place these days. I mean, they've got a stable.
Really
they've got a bunch of studios.
They just carved out the entire middle of the industry, the entire middle budget section of it.
Yeah, they've got a bunch of studios and IP now. So, let's see some games. I don't know.
It's a lot. They made 37 acquisitions in 2020.
Yes.
Like it's my beef. It's one of my beefs with the consolidation, where I've talked about this before, and it's the thing that worries me about one of the things that worries me about the Blizzard Activision stuff is when you roll up like that, where the top of the front of the ship goes, so does everything behind it, you know? So once you have all these studios in one place, if that company does poorly, it affects all of those studios down the chain. So you wind up with beloved studios or places that, you know, maybe had some autonomy. And I'm not trying to paint it in a black and white thing. Maybe some of these studios were in trouble. Maybe these studios had no other options. But you get into the situation where you could shutter these studios in bulk. You know, they just go down.
I don't doubt for a second that a number of these studios probably did need the instant influx of cash and ownership to probably continue on at whatever they were doing. But, you know, the problem with that is if you are trading, you know, potential, like, you know, quick upfront stability, the long term on that does have a lot of potential downsides.
Well, we just speaking from experience, because I don't know shit about business, but you get affected by other business units, you know, like, you know, when you're part of that ecosystem, if part of the beast isn't doing well, it now affects you in ways that, you know, might be financial, might be personnel. So those things, you know, it gets big and unwieldy.
Yes.
We can confidently say nobody else is going to be getting embraced anytime soon.
Yes. You never know. I love maybe that $2 billion sugar daddy will come back and be like,
it doesn't sound like it.
I love you. I'm sorry. I'm coming back. That's pretty much the news. That's a lot of video games.
Yeah. A lot of things got shown.
A lot of games got shown. I have to add a bunch of these to our database, but none of these have great dates yet. I don't like adding stuff that has soft dates in there.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let me ask you this before we wrap up our news section and wrap up this podcast completely. Give me 3 things, Brad, or think about, let's say, I'll circle back around. Think about 3 things from all of what we've seen that you'd be like, if I could just get copies of those today, I'd love to get moving on it. I'm going to say for me, since I asked that question, I'll give you guys a minute to think here. Starfield now. Starfield used to be like a known quantity game for me, but now I'm back in on, I really want to play that.
Yeah.
It's going to sound lame because it's coming out, but Baldur's Gate, I really want to play the final version of that.
Yeah, they got Jason Isaacs.
They did.
I want to play that as soon as I can. And then my third one somewhere maybe between Star Wars and Fable.
Okay.
Alex?
I'm gonna say I really want to play that Baby Steps game, honestly.
Yeah, okay.
I'm really curious about that one. MK. I'm very ready to play some more Mortal Kombat. I'm trying to think what would my third be. I mean, I do want to do that space trucking, so I'm gonna throw that one on there.
Space trucking. Got it.
Yeah.
Brad, do you have an idea?
Yeah, man, I hate to be so predictable and say Starfield, Star Wars Outlaws. I'm gonna say, you know, Prince of Persia: Lost Crown looks great.
Oh, sure, yeah, yeah.
Baby Steps also something I'm now suddenly very excited for.
Yeah.
MK definitely. Alan Wake 2 for sure.
Okay. Everything. The video game. There was a lot. It was a pretty good showing. I'd say maybe not each individual showcase or press conference, but in aggregate, there's a lot of stuff out there.
Yeah, I think until Xbox, it was there was definitely a feeling of like, is that it? Is that all?
Yeah.
But then I think Microsoft had a very strong showing, and Ubisoft also had some stuff.
A lot of stuff for 2024 as well. So we'll be talking about these games beyond. Hopefully we'll get some dates as 2024 materializes to see just when Star Wars will be playable. But, like we said, we got MK and a bunch of stuff coming out this September and October. That's going to do it for this week's show. We have an email address. We're going to catch up on emails another time, but we have an email address that is podcast@nextlander.com, podcast@nextlander.com, where you can send your questions, emails, experiences. Hey, if you're in game dev and you want to talk about acquisitions and you know who that $2 billion silent partner, loud partner, mysterious
whoever
partner,
it was, tell us.
We can pretend we're game journalists. It's okay. You just tell us. Send it into podcast@nextlander.com. We've got a bunch of stuff up currently. All those press conferences and showcases we just talked about, they're up. They have chapter markers for the most part. I'm not sure if I did them for Sony, but they're definitely in the other ones in there. So you can hop and skip around. If you just want to see Nick Cage on stage, you could do that. If you want to just see Keanu Reeves on stage for a half second before he bolts off, you can see that. Go check those out over on YouTube, or Twitch won't have the markers, but YouTube will. The Ubisoft was on Monday. Thursday, tomorrow, as of the time of this recording, we're going to have a grab bag, and then we'll be back on Friday for more streaming. So join us there. We got the Ramblecast. If you missed it, Never Been a Better Podcast is currently up. That's over at patreon.com/Nextlander, along with the Watchcast. That's Dune is up now, yeah?
Dune is up now, yes.
Oh my gosh, what a movie. What a picture.
Mm-hmm.
You can go check that. You can go check that out over at patreon.com/Nextlander. Patreon.com/Nextlander, and you can go prep by watching Wild at Heart. And what on top? Wild at Heart and
Weird on top.
Weird on top.
It is Weird on top.
Which we recorded. That'll be up next week. Over at that Patreon, you can find a tier that is right for you. Bunch of different tiers there with a bunch of different stuff in them. There is one tier, though, that gets their names read on this podcast, and that is the Mysterious Benefactors tier. And I am very happy and honored to read the names of our Mysterious Benefactors for this week, starting with RRE, John Richardson, Kelly F., James Smith, Brian Lucier, Skywarp, John Hubbard, Sean Miller, Brad's Midsize Hoodoo Voodoo, Evan Cook, Mark Wilhelm, Jerry Lee, Gary Pejke, Robert Fisher, John McInnes, Change Mod plus X Buddy Crimes, okay? Peter Reardon, Thomas Lynn, Jad Rita, Statics, Andrew Jackson, Mega Crane, Razgriz 2, Brian Murphy, Trevor and Adrian R, Randy Duax, Andrew Tiebkin, Alex Wu, It Me JP, Matt Clements Jr., Edward Chick, Andrew Slosky, Steve Lynn, Matthew Herrig, David Campos, and Tyler Treese. Trying to sneak in, trying to put in Linux commands into our spreadsheet here. I gotta sanitize our Mysterious Benefactor tiers before they get in there. CHMOD. Change mod? That's how I always said it in my head.
That sounds right.
CHmod. I don't know.
CHmod?
Just say CHmod.
Well, we're gonna CHmod out of here. All access.
Symbolic or octal notation?
Oh God, that's octal. What's plus? I don't know. 777.
That's octal.
755.
The one with the numbers is octal. That is
okay.
That is owner, read, write, and execute.
755.
Group and other. Oh gosh. Oh, you're putting me on the spot here. That is read and execute only, not write.
Okay. 5, 7. I don't know. I just always, whenever I'm running into problems, it's just 777 across the board. Mm-hmm. Let's just go with it.
What could go wrong?
What could go wrong? Everything's 777. 1-800-777-Nextlander. This week can call, toll free, collect, call. Tell them Nextlander sent you. We got a bunch of stuff going on, like I mentioned before. Thanks everybody for supporting us. I hope you enjoyed this summer of games. we need better naming for this group of things now that E3 is gone.
Sitting here trying to write the description for this podcast. I'm not sure what to call it. Like, I started to say, like, the E3 window has closed, but it's not actually E3 anymore, even though kind of it was. But
no, just call it that anyway. Who
cares? Like, calling it the Summer Game Fest window doesn't feel quite appropriate either. I don't think that thing is big enough to lay claim to the whole time window.
Not yet. They have to earn it. They'll get there, but they have to earn it. Yeah, I don't know. Somebody needs to come up with some better branding. But we still have some more coming up in the future. I'm sure we'll talk about it. We have Gamescom coming up, and I think Tokyo Game Show is still on the books. So there might be some stuff coming out of there, though also the games will be coming out in September and late August too. Thank you,
tell
Brett.
us anyway.
What's that?
So they tell us anyway.
So they tell us, yes. Thank you, Brad Shoemaker. Thank you, Alex Navarro. Thanks again to everybody for listening, and we'll be back next week.